one of those nights where the team just didn't give up, right?
Yeah, we very rarely give up, but tonight especially, they just fought and fought and fought and found it. And on a back-to-back, when we were missing Eric, when we were missing Dennis, when we were missing JT after the first little bit, and they just stayed with it and kept fighting and got down and fought back and then got down again and fought back. We got down 3 and Seawood made the 3 to send it to overtime. So yeah, this team has a lot of fight, has a lot of character, has a lot of grit, and we're learning. It's unfortunate that we lost the game, but that's really the only unfortunate part of tonight is that we lost.
What tightened up so much defensively in the second half?
I mean, I guess the paint was the big part. Like they were killing us in the paint in the first half. I believe they had 38 points in the paint in the first half, and they ended up with 68. So that's a big difference. And that was one of our messages to the group at halftime is we need to protect the paint, whether it's the rolls that Gobert was getting early, or the penetration that they were getting. And I think you found in the second half that as they were penetrating, it was a lot harder for them to make those little dump off passes and that kind of thing. We were active. We had active hands. We had guys in there, but then we were spreading out to closeouts. So, as important as the 3-point shot is with this team, with the Jazz, the paint becomes so much more important because that's how they get their threes. So for us to cut off the paint, really, really helped us in the second half.
Well, speaking of your threes, to hit 20 and have 3-point shooting really keep you in the game through regulation and then only hit 1 in overtime. Were you getting the shots that you wanted and they just weren't falling?
Yeah. So, the shots that KJ shot, I wanted him to shoot those shots. We were turning the corner. Gobert was helping off of him. And we kicked it to him and he was making them in the fourth quarter. And to the point where they had to switch Gobert back on to Christian Wood. And that was big for us. Cause now Christian's able to pick and pop and do a lot of things like that. And over time, we got the same shots and we didn't necessarily make them. But I wasn't mad with our shot selection at all.
The way you executed the offense in the fourth quarter down the stretch without that Eric safety net, is that kind of to show you how far this team has come in the last month or so?
Yeah, that's a good point. Without having Eric on the floor to kind of settle things down, I think Kevin did a great job of settling everything down, and we kept it pretty bland as far as our play calls, but he was making the right plays, and we were trying to either draw Gobert and kick and make a play that way, or play the 2-man game with Kevin and Christian, where he'd come off and read whether there was a switch or not, and if Scoot had the ability to attack, he would attack. If not, give it to Christian, and he would attack a smaller player. So the purpose of play definitely in the fourth quarter as well as overtime was very good.
How does he guys like take and can you attack the spaces that teams kind of did into attack?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
How does a guy like Tate and Kenyon Martin attack those spaces that teams kind of did into exploit?
Yeah, well tonight KJ shot it. That was his way to attack it, and that is the way that most teams get out of it. If you're gonna leave a guy wide open and he's gonna make shots out there, then most teams will adjust back. And that's important for us. But the other thing that they can do is get to dribble handoffs where their man is in the paint and they can dribble flip and the shooter can be open that way, or they can screen off ball or on ball. And, with the big all the way back, if you set a good screen, you should have an advantage at the point of the screen. So, they did a little bit of everything when it came to it. And, KJ making those shots was huge.
Being an opportunity for you guys against a quality team like Utah, and you were down by 18 points in the first half. Force overtime, how big is that for this group to understand what they have to do?
Yeah, it's really big. It's really big. I mean, it's really unfortunate that we lost this game, cause they should be rewarded for playing as hard as they did and doing all of the things that they did coming off a back-to-back and a disappointing game last night, with the third quarter and then, kind of not garbage time minutes, but, at the end we pulled our guys and, just didn't have a good taste in our mouths at the end of that game. Coming into this game is all about our approach and our readiness. And, we pointed to one of the questions that I asked the group before the game was, what was the score at the first time out last time we played Utah? And, they told me it was 14-2. So, I said that means we got to be ready to play tonight. And we were. And, like you said, we did get down, but we fought back. And the fight of this group is, something to be really proud of as a coach, as a fan, as, someone who follows the Rockets.
Him scoring over the big guys, over Gobert 3 times, Whiteside once. Is that the aggressiveness you've been talking about the last week or so?
Yeah, he's going downhill. He played almost a full game tonight. He played 46.5 minutes. But, he was going downhill and he was finding a way, whether it was around the guy or the one where he went downhill and pivoted back and shot the high little floater in the paint. Just finding different ways of doing that. He wasn't doing that early in the season, right? And also, it shows that he is getting experience because, to make that adjustment, he probably never played against a Gobert type guy or a Whiteside type guy before. And to make that adjustment as the season goes along shows a lot about him and his commitment to being really good.
How much of his play allowed you to be able to go to the 2-man game with KPJ and Christian Wood at the end of the game?
Yeah, his play was, very important. His play, what we were doing was we were giving the ball to Christian and allowing Christian to dribble handoff and Jalen to turn the corner. And Jalen was making the right play, whether it was making the passes to KJ in the corner or turning the corner and looking for his shot or passing it back to Christian when he was open. So, having both guys, I put them both on the same side of the floor tonight because we had Garrison on one side and I wanted to keep Gobert out of bounds if possible. But yeah, those guys on the same side of the floor are pretty dangerous, because either guy can come off and they're both pretty adept turning the corner, when we force the defense to go over the screen as opposed to under.
When it is so much Christian and Kevin in that 2-man game, how can Jalen involve himself a little bit more in the offense if you think it kind of needs to?
He doesn't necessarily need to. It's kind of like how the game is going, how it's rolling, and the angle pick and roll with those two guys was working. If it weren't working, we wouldn't have been going to it, right? We would have been going to something else, whether it was a dribble handoff to Jalen and allowing him to turn the corner like we were doing in the fourth quarter, or, in overtime, we have a play where we give it to Jalen and he has the option to give it back or keep it, and he gave it back. So, it's just kind of reading the game and what's best or what's working really. And, the 2-man game with Kevin and Christian was working.
Deshaun, I just tweaked his ankle. It seemed like early in the game. Do you have an update on him?
I don't have an update on him. He was, he obviously came out of the game and he went back and there was a timeout and he was like, I can't go. I can't move. So that's the last I've heard of it.
Did it happen tonight?
Yeah.
They got hot at the end of overtime. Is that just something that you'll point and show to your team that you have to stay in it with those veteran type players?
Yeah, that's what they do. He's a guy who's been through the wars and been through the big moments, and we haven't. So we're learning from every moment that we're in, and we haven't played too many overtime games, and I'm sure he's played probably 100 of them in his career. So, every moment we use as a learning moment, whether it's a situation or what pros do, and he's a pro.